Hey there, Adam and Karen here. Just wanted to introduce ourselves. We're going to be covering quite a few topics related to Christian dating. It's something that's been heavy on my heart ever since I probably was in junior high. I've been listening to audios and watching videos on the topics, and it's just something that back when I was young, it was an important topic. Nowadays, it seems like it's even more so an important subject. Karen and I have been married for almost 27 years now, coming up in just a very short time. And we're excited to be able to do this and very trepidatious because it's, kind of a heavy burden as we want to represent Christ well. It's one thing to just talk about opinion, but when you start talking about this is God's opinion, that's a heavy thing. So we want to address this well. If you catch anything that we say that's off, please flag it, tell us, flag it by a comment, not something else. But we would love to be able to communicate with you and help you in those matters as well, and you can help us.
And it's 26 years.
26 years.
26 years.
I think when we were talking with our friends yesterday, somebody said 27.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I got stuck in my head as 27 all of a sudden.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay.
And
I don't even remember how old I am.
And what's
so
funny, what's funny is you usually know the date,
Yeah.
the hour, the minute, down to
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a very unusual moment.
I got influenced.
Oh
Okay.
no.
So we're going to be watching a video. It just came out by Paul and Morgan. We highly respect a lot of the stuff that they say. And we've watched reaction videos to their videos that are kind of humorous, if not for the sake. They're so frustrating too. Some of them, some of these videos that we watch as a reaction video, it's rather insulting to them. People try to catch some kind of micro expression that was made
ridiculous.
And assume that this means that, and whatever. So we love watching Paul and Morgan, and we're going to be looking at their most recent video on a subject that is important to us.
Yes.
And that is, if you're kissing somebody right now who's not going to be your future spouse, then you're kissing potentially somebody else's future spouse. And how should you be acting as a Christian dating and dealing with physical intimacy, which is something that we're going to be covering a lot of in our subjects, because that tends to be the thing that people are most interested in, is what are the boundaries within Christian dating.
Definitely. I think that the importance of understanding that we came from sort of the era of the initial wave of the purity culture. I Kissed Dating Goodbye was kind of like brand new when we were already kind of in our dating things, and we're not going to give an opinion right now on that, but we have an opinion on that. It basically, we come from that sort of background. I did the True Love Waits thing, so we've got a little bit of background in this. However, we now have 26 years of experience.
Not 27.
Not 27. and dating one another continuously through marriage, and then seeing our dating experience with each other and with others through that lens of maturity. I think that we can give a unique perspective that would be really helpful to all of you.
Cool. Let's jump into this.
What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm Paul. And I'm Morgan. Morgan is upstairs tending to baby Luca from his, he just decided to start crying pretty heavily. Hopefully she'll be down in just a moment, but I can go ahead and get started. Today's topic is quite the interesting one. Yes, we are revisiting love and dating, physical boundaries. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to discuss this. We're talking about purity culture. We're about to get to that from a tweet that someone made recently.
And I'm going to do something that one of our friends does on YouTube with, try to get to these more quickly. I'm going to speed this video up, which will probably also help prevent YouTube from, having an issue with us doing some kind of...
Right, and I'm assuming in editing at some point we're going to be taking out some of little bits here and there.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
That would be good.
But before we do, guys, welcome. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. We make videos on culture, social issues, and faith to help you be in the world and of the word. And we've been making more relationship videos as well. All right. So I was on Twitter. Shout out to Twitter, especially after Elon's takeover. It has been quite the exciting place. Seriously. I'm on Twitter, and I see someone that I follow that I really appreciate. She commented on this tweet. Actually, surprisingly, okay, I don't want to say surprisingly, but I was kind of surprised to see what she commented on the tweet, and I will read that to you guys in a little bit. But the tweet in question, the tweet that is the subject of today's video is this. It is by someone named Emily. She said, remember in high school when they told us that if we kissed the person we were dating, we were kissing someone else's spouse, and we were pre-cheating on our future spouse. I'm going to leave that up here. I'm just going to shrink it a little bit. I know some of you guys in the pre-live chat were like, from the way that we chose to title it, kissing someone else's spouse, like, you guys, I think, thought we were coming at it from kind of one angle. Here's the tweet, and I find this very interesting. I'll start a bump upstairs. This particular girl, I'm going to be reading some responses that were made, but she is hitting on the idea of really fear-based, toxic purity culture that many of us can relate to. I know that I can relate to a lot of the stuff that I think that the angles that she's coming from. And I want to open this up and say, what is she getting at here? And is she onto something? Is she calling out toxic purity culture? Should this particular theme within toxic purity culture be called out? She says, they told us, when she says they, remember in high school when they told us, I think she's referring to, the advocates of purity culture back in the maybe early 2000s when it was like really big. 2000, I guess I was in high school, 2005, 6, 7. And it was big. She says they, the advocates of purity culture, maybe the people within the church, maybe her parents or the people within her youth group, they told us if we kissed the person we were dating, we were kissing someone else's spouse and we were pre-cheating on our future spouse. We get the gist of what she's saying. And I'll actually read to you guys.
You have any comments on that so far?
Yeah, I'm thinking it'd be interesting to kind of hear. I have an opinion.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay, so I don't know what he's going to say, but I think that there is some validity to the concern that that's what she was taught, or at least that seems to me that's what she's putting out there, is that's what she was taught in high school. Mm-hmm. The idea that you're kissing someone's spouse. There is a big part of me that says, well, in some respects, yeah, you're going to be kissing someone who someday may not be yours, and they're going to be someone else's, and that experience that they've had with you will then transfer into that future relationship. So one should not flippantly just kiss whomever whenever. I think that there's something to be said for saving kisses in a way that is honoring that person for their future, whether you're in it or not, and showing self-control and all those other things. But then pushing it to the point of pre-cheating on your future spouse, no, I don't think so. I think that's pushing it too far.
Yeah. I would say any activity that has happened before our marriage, there may be issues that we wish we hadn't. And I would say, if anything, the area that we should be erring on is maybe more toward a conservative side, where you don't find anybody really that says, I'm so frustrated, throughout my life that I didn't kiss so-and-so, that I didn't marry. That's not really, maybe somebody has that issue and maybe they need to examine that more. But if you are not kissing somebody, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's
not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to save your kisses, but, and I could bring this even further, but there's that sense of, we all learn as we go along, and if we do happen to make a mistake, the consequences of that mistake may stay with us a long while. However, there's something called redemption. And this sort of, at least from what she's putting on here, the idea of pre-cheating, that's putting on a burden that shouldn't be there. Because if that person changes and they end up choosing to not be in the relationship they're currently in, they go on and they marry someone else and they commit to that person, they're faithful to that person. It's not because of anything they did in the past. It's a new relationship. It's a new start. And I think that that's where, if somebody taught her that, no.
Let's see where Paul goes with this.
So you can get a little idea. Well, in the comment section, just based off of that tweet alone, what are your thoughts? Are you kind of like, she's right to call this out? Why would they use these fear tactics? Okay, kissing someone you're dating. Who cares? Like, what side are you fall on? What side do you fall on? Yeah, it's just kissing someone you're dating. And then you're going to move on, maybe and date someone else. Yeah, you kissed them. Big whoop. Are you more on that side? Or are you on the side of no, they have a point. The people, the purity culture advocates, they had a point that when you were getting all kissy-kissy with someone you were dating, you were kissing someone else's future spouse. This particular person, Emily, I didn't feel like I needed to get on her Twitter. This is the tweet that is in discussion here, but I was like, let me just kind of see what does her Twitter look like. And funny enough, I feel like before I give too much of like my strong opinion on this tweet, I've kind of come to know what to expect when I read a tweet like this. What I feel like I can expect is I'm going to go to her page, I'm going to go to this person's page and see a good amount of tweets of calling out toxic church culture, calling out here's the way I grew up and here's all the harm that it caused, calling out all the harm within the church, within purity culture, within the modesty stuff, within the, you guys get what I'm saying? And so kind of funny enough, her page, her bio on Twitter says, doubt-filled believer, fighting for a more inclusive world, can't seem to quit Jesus. In all things charity, she, her, ADHD since 2003. So the top comment was, again, from a person that I'm actually friends with on Twitter, really like her stuff, but she responded to this and said, you must have gone to a very weird church growing up, LOL. Every time you tweet stuff like this, it's shocking to me. And then, well, first off, I just want to say, like, I think that this tweet and tweets like this, like, again, I was pretty, these were my circles, like, literally, whether it was like leaders in our church, leaders in our Christian school, homeschool co-op type school, my mom, like, this was the stuff I was being spoon-fed, if you will. Hey, Paul, like, if you're getting into the upper high school grades, just know if you are kissing someone and then they don't end up being your wife, you're kissing someone else's spouse. And that's a big deal. You know, it's not just something to shrug off. This person, Emily, it sounds like is saying, no, it's something to relax and kind of shrug off.
And I would say, yeah, definitely. In our church, we were hearing stuff like this all the time. It was very normal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, ooh, what kind of church were you in? This was normal.
This is really, yeah, it was relatively normal.
American Christian Church.
Yeah. And I would say that I don't think our church ever it went on to that further statement about pre-cheating on your future spouse necessarily. They didn't put it in that light. They put it more in the light of one should withhold one's kisses for somebody who you think you're going to marry.
Yeah. And
keep it. But then I know that the culture of the people I was around, it wasn't like that.
Right.
At all. At all.
So what the leadership was saying versus what
people were actually doing, very different.
Yeah. And were the people that were doing things that were very different, did you hear any of their responses as they were hearing this talk from their leadership?
I think as we spoke about it, they thought it was kind of ridiculous and they felt like they weren't doing anything wrong. It's just kissing. However, I know a lot of the pain that came with a lot of those people who were just kissing. I also know that some of that just kissing was leading to things that weren't just kissing.
Sure.
Because they were putting themselves in situations that were tempting more to happen than just kissing. So I would say probably a few of the ones that I've kept in contact with over all these years, they do regret a lot.
Yeah.
They're wishing they had listened, but they also wish that the message was delivered differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I think we're both hoping to do, is deliver the message differently.
Yeah. Cool.
And these people that are fear-mongering, toxic purity culture, it's not good. Anyway, yeah, this girl I follow said, you must have gone to a very weird church. I don't think it sounds that weird. Emily responded and said, phew, girl, I lived in breathed church and Bible studies and Christian ministries. There was barely a night of the week that I wasn't somewhere trying to learn more about Jesus. Someone responded, I'm going to go and exit this for now. Someone responded, kind of pushing back on her, and said, well, it's kind of true. I wouldn't say cheating, but one will compare your spouse's kissing to all the others you kissed before you met your spouse. Best to not kiss casually. And I'm thinking about that, and I'll be honest, I went and liked that guy's response. Best to not kiss casually. I think that he said that really well. I like it. So you guys are getting the feeling of where I'm coming from. And Emily responded and said, LOL, I don't find this true at all. I never think about other people I kissed. You guys are kind of seeing the divide, if you will, here. Can we just pull back real quick before when we go and read the next tweet? Someone responded and said, yeah, I can never forget that part of I Kiss Dating Goodbye, where he's like, imagine everyone you ever dated lined up on the altar on your wedding day. Whatever you gave them are pieces of you you'll never get back and can never give your spouse, or something like that. And then someone said, as the last one, someone responded, 1, Jesus never promises us a spouse as part of his plan of salvation. Agreed. 2, I liked kissing my past boyfriends. She liked kissing her past boyfriends, okay. 3, a life of chastity should not be fueled by your future spouse is out there somewhere. And 4, pre-cheating is not a thing. And then our girl Emily did like a little meme that said, yes. All right. Woo. Fascinating conversation. Fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
And there'll always be a chat that has attention in there. The question is, will this chat have any kind of influence on anybody and help change anybody one way or the other?
Right. And will it be a beneficial conversation in which people can speak with each other with some type of respect from a differing point of view.
The unique thing about that conversation is all those people pretty much are people who, I mean, they've already done something in the past, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So they're obviously not going to be changing what they did, but it can influence those who are going to be going into the dating realm or already in the dating realm,
Right.
not yet married.
Now, as somebody who kissed someone else before you and did so in a way that I don't believe I honored God at one point, did I take that into our marriage? No, I didn't.
For me?
I didn't take
Oh.
that into our marriage. I didn't take that previous experience into our marriage. I started fresh. I felt as if I had a different mindset when we began dating. You were a very different person with very different values and boundaries, and I could respect that. And but did it make me a little more eager? Yeah. Did it make it a little bit more difficult? Sure, for sure. Do I still have regret at times? Yeah, I have definitely forgiven myself. I know that the Lord has forgiven me for certain. I know that you were gracious, but there are still moments where I just want to facepalm. I just think, oh, if I could just go back in time and tell myself that there's just boundaries you're going to cross that you never thought you would, and yeah, stop there.
Sure.
So, but I don't feel like he was like lining up, or they were lining up behind me. How about you?
Which question?
Do you feel like that at our altar there was like that line of people behind me?
No. I mean, that obviously we had already had lots and lots of discussions about previous things that happened in our lives, and I did not consider that to be any kind of hindrance in our marriage ceremony. And
Now, did you want to address the fact that we kissed before marriage?
Sure. I mean, we were friends for a full year, I think, and then we became good friends for a full year, and then we got engaged, and we were friends during that time for as an engaged couple for a year. And during that, I would say that engagement time, or what we had called betrothal, was when we had started kissing.
Yeah.
But we also saw that once we started going down that road, that we definitely had to figure out what was too much temptation.
Yep.
Because you start opening up doors, and maybe it's not the kissing, but maybe it's just being next to each other. In my case, I didn't want Karen to be grabbing my knee. That was just too much for me. Totally different for other people.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can grab their knees as much as wouldn't do anything. But there's some kind of little trigger for each person, and there might be multiple triggers. So watch out for those. I would say that's the big deal. Is we're trying to honor God throughout all our lives, and that particular stage, there's a lot of footholds that can be taken advantage of, and we don't want to just give up our walk with Christ where it is, figuring we're never going to get it back, or give it up knowing that He'll forgive us. We want to run the race well and run through as few pit holes as possible during that race. It'll be great with wide open, looking at the road ahead of us and making wise decisions where we place our feet.
That's so true.
Let's hear more of what Paul says here.
I'm just, all right, here's my thoughts. You guys are absolutely welcome to think what you will, but I just want to say, going back to her initial tweet, she's kind of calling out the fear mongers, if you will. Is it not true, though, if you're in high school, dating somebody, you're kissing them, kissing, and then you guys break up, have you not been kissing someone else's spouse? Why? I'm trying to see both sides here. I am, and I do see both sides to an extent, but why is that, like, why do you feel like you need to tweet and push back on that, on people that would say, hey, Paul, hey, 15-year-old Paul, you go around kissing girls, you're kissing someone else's future spouse. Like, that's true. What am I missing here? That's true. If you're going around making out with your girlfriend, you guys break up a month later, you have been intimately, I'm not saying you're having sex, I'm not saying you've had sex, even though oftentimes the steamy makeout sessions lead to further stuff. Let's be real. They do. Let's be real. The majority of Christian dating couples, I'm not even trying to be like fake Christians, Christian dating couples, well-meaning Christian couples, end up slipping up and compromising their purity on some level. Oftentimes, I would even say the majority end up having sex before marriage. These are Christian couples that are dating. Why is that so many end up having premarital sex when they set out with good intentions? Why is that? Could it be because they're not putting strict boundaries in place? Could it be because they're making fun of this toxic purity culture? They're making fun of people that suggested that if you're going around kissing the people that you're casually dating or that you're dating, you're going around kissing them, making out with them, and perhaps you shouldn't be because you actually are kissing someone else's future spouse. Oh, we're going to make fun of them. You guys are so toxic. And then we're over here and we're end up having sex before marriage. How about we have a little bit of a pullback and a little bit of a reverencing of like, there may have actually been some wisdom there. There may be wisdom in putting a little fear into us. Is it bad? Is fear always a bad thing? Hey, Paul, 16-year-old Paul, I would discourage you from making out with your girlfriend because if you guys break up, you've been making out with someone else's spouse. Paul, I would discourage you, 16-year-old Paul, from making out with your girlfriend because it oftentimes leads to further stuff. There's a little bit of fear there. Is that a bad thing? It's like we're all up in arms. Fear. You are fear-based tactics. Okay, I'm sure it can be taken too far. I know that there is purity elements of purity culture that have been taken too far, that have become extra biblical, and we got to be careful with that. And I saw someone in the comments say, yeah, I'm not, whatever. This is extra biblical Christian dating boundaries. It's extra biblical. Is there wisdom there? The Apostle Paul talks over and over and over again about maintaining your sexual purity, about maintaining just purity, keeping the marriage bed holy, fleeing sexual immorality, and yet we're so quick to demonize all of purity culture. That's what kind of just frustrates me. Are there bad things with purity culture? Sure, there are things that they took too far. Should purity culture as a whole be demonized? What is purity culture? I'm not so sure about that. And then, the comment that I read, someone responding to Emily and said, there's no such thing as pre-cheating. We were kissing someone else's spouse. We were pre-cheating on our future spouse. If you're making out, which is an intimate act, leading to getting handsy in intimate parts of the body, leading to sexual acts, again, like these little phrases, pre-cheating, I don't know what's pre-cheating, but it's getting intimate with someone who's not your spouse. Guys, am I crazy? Comment what you think. Give this video a thumbs up if you feel me. Give this video a thumbs up if you feel me.
I think his heart is in the right place. I think his direction is leaning a little hard toward legalism. And
Which he are you referring to here?
I'm sorry, Paul.
Okay.
I think at this point, I was kind of with him in that idea that he says, well, what's wrong with thinking about that you're kissing somebody else's spouse? You are. I agree that there's something to be said for if you're going to choose to kiss, that you would hopefully choose to kiss with the thought that this person is marital material, that's kind of the direction you're already wanting to go. And I would say even withholding possibly until you know for sure this is somebody who you see meets a lot of, tick a few boxes first before you start getting smoochy. That would be the advice I would give myself back in the day. I would say, but pushing it to pre-cheating, that's wrong. No, you aren't pre-cheating on your spouse because unless you're bringing that former relationship into your current relationship, then yeah, if I'm fantasizing about previous guys I've kissed while kissing my husband, that's cheating.
Please don't.
That would be cheating. Do I do that? No. Would it be difficult for some? Maybe. I'm not everybody. But that's where it would be cheating. If you're specifically putting your mind in the past and bringing someone else into your relationship, yeah, that's cheating. But pre-cheating with the sense of, I'm dating this guy, I really care about him, he's ticked a lot of these boxes, I really think I might want to marry him, he thinks he might want to marry me, and we find ourselves kissing, and then, there's some pretty much uncompromisable things that happen, and, oh gosh, we got to break up. Does that mean I'm ruined for life? No. No. Does that mean you abandon all the things you learned from that relationship? No. But do you bring that relationship into your future relationship? No. There's something called the heart, and we can rein that in. I think it's pushing a bit much. I think Paul's kind of getting sucked into that a little bit at this point.
Okay.
Story time with Yaz. You're spot on, Paul. It looks weird. It looks crazy. Yeah, they're all anti-fear. They're all anti. Just let us live. Oh my goodness, my past church experience was so toxic. The way I grew up was so toxic. They put so many regulations and rules on me and don't do this. Well, the Bible has regulations and rules and tells us don't do this. Yes, let's be careful not to make something scripture that isn't. We don't want to start being like, The Bible says thou shalt not hug for more than 5 seconds to someone you're not married to. No, the Bible doesn't say that. But the Bible does give wisdom. The Apostle Paul over and over again talks about things, how to live with wisdom. He instructs the Timothy in the book of Timothy, who's being trained, or he's already a leader in the church, and he says, treat younger women with absolute purity. Guys, again, go back to the statistics. How are Christian couples doing? How are Christian dating couples doing? Not well. So maybe we should look a little different and play it a little more safe than a little more liberal. That's my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We're, like I said, heart in the right place.
Yeah.
We ought to be playing things a little safer than we used to. And there is something to be said for fear being a positive thing when it leads to a positive response to something. Like, if you've got a bad guy chasing you, the fear is going to cause you to run. That's a good thing. If you see that somebody's acting creepy and they're just giving you really terrible vibes and they're getting a little too close, creating distance, that fear that creates distance is a good thing. So yeah, same thing. If you know that you're pushing on a boundary that you're weak in, there should be a sense of fear that I'm weak in this area. This is making me weaker. This is making me want to compromise. I ought to flee temptation. I have to flee before I sin. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I would agree. We want to flee from temptation. We want to flee from sin. We just, like a moment ago, I was talking about maybe different types of things for different people, and we'll be covering lots of different topics like that. It's interesting when you have a group of people chatting about it and everybody's speaking about absolutes on some things that are not absolutes, and then there are things that they're not sure about that there are absolutes on. So it's something that we need to really investigate and consider seriously. I mean, who you kissed for the first time, for your first kiss, you only get one time being a first kiss, right? But then again, as we've just talked about, there's an issue of the purity culture, and there's an issue with not a full understanding of the forgiveness that Christ provides, the building a new creation that is within Him. And I'm hoping that we can cover more of this. There's not much more of the video with Paul, so let's hear what he finishes up here.
I don't have a whole lot more to say. What are your thoughts? Comment below. Let me know. Morgan, maybe she'll get here for a little bit of the live Q&A. If you guys are watching this, try to tune in for the live if you're watching the playback, because we get into some fun, sometimes spicy Q&A after the main course of the video. Hopefully Morgan will be here. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm open to dialogue, and I hope there's some healthy dialogue in the comment section. I genuinely do. Love you guys. Be blessed. Catch you again very soon. Have hope and be free. It says you may have noticed
we really appreciate Paul and Morgan and all their videos. They've been at it for quite a while, and it's quite a ministry.
So. And we agree with quite a few things that they've done and said, and not everything, but we're all different human beings, and we all are in different stages of our lives, and part of it comes with age and maturity and experience. But overall, I would recommend them as a channel. I think that their stuff is pretty good.
So on this topic, where we would pretty much land is that, yes, technically, if you are kissing somebody and you don't intend to marry that person, then you're knowingly kissing somebody that is not going to be your future spouse.
Right.
You're knowingly kissing somebody who potentially is going to be somebody else's future spouse. And whatever else is done within that relationship, same thing applies. I would highly recommend taking it seriously. It is in this culture such a weird thing to think of a kiss as a serious thing,
right,
or something to be highly valued, when people are just throwing their bodies at whoever on TV and movies and whatever else. And it's just what we hear all the time within our friend circles or our social media. And I highly encourage you to take it seriously. You can always take a step in more. How would I say it? How should you say it?
Well, if you start way back here, it's easier to inch closer to a line that is not as dangerous if you start here.
Yeah.
But if you're just riding the line and your entire thought process is how much can I get away with and still be generally okay, then that's a line you're going to end up regretting
Yep.
drawing.
There's
It
that.
won't be a line for very long.
It's one of those things where if you are on the back of a pickup truck and you're leaning against the tailgate, essentially pushing as hard as you can, feeling like how hard can I push in this tailgate and have it not break open on me? Why?
Yeah,
Why
why?
live that way? Why not sit up with the driver and have a nice, good drive that's nice and safe, and you can be able to have a good conversation up there?
Yeah.
It's just the odd things that we do in our lives. The world is so backward in some of the, and there's so much benefit
Right.
to when you get married and you're doing things for the first time, whatever that is. Some people, they wait till marriage to kiss,
Yeah.
and they're having their first kiss in marriage, and you know what, it gets better and better, and they don't have any phantoms of memory of other kisses. So
Helps. Well, and
that's-
that was your thing, is you.
Yeah.
I was your first kiss, and I felt unworthy of that. It took me a while to appreciate that I was still someone worthy of receiving your love in that way, and that's gonna make me feel teary like after all these years. But at the same time, I knew that my heart had been transformed before we were even at that point. I knew that our relationship was strong in a way that was different than any other relationship I'd been in. And I saw him not just as marriage material, but I saw us together walking a similar line with the Lord leading us in the same direction. And that was all the difference. The Lord was the one leading our relationship, and we knew that if we were to come together with a kiss, that it was something that would be a commitment, that it was something that we thought we were going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. And we have all of our lives to learn how to enjoy that process, and how to, if I'm not a great kisser right now, then I will be later, or I'll learn how that kissing works, for you, that you like best, and that that I like best, and it's fun. But a lot of people in today's day and age, they just think, oh, it's just a kiss. It's just a kiss. It's not that big a deal. You're not really doing anything. Well, then why do it?
yeah,
Why do it?
Obviously, it's special.
Obviously.
That's-
Obviously, people want to do it for a reason.
There's a reason why it feels so good.
Yeah.
It's special.
It is special.
And there's that emotional connection. It's not just a physical act of two pieces of fat behind skin, smashing into each other. It's an emotional thing. It's a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
So
a
we're
lot
spiritual beings. We're emotional beings. We are, intelligent, and we need to, take these things seriously. So.
Yep. Take it seriously, but also, not necessarily on the flip side, but in that same vein, if you have treated it flippantly, and you have a sense of, even if you don't have a sense of regret, understand that experience does inform future experience. Past experience can inform future experience in a positive way and a negative way, and make certain that you're not bringing your thoughts about your past kisses into your current relationship or your marital relationship, because that is a cheating kind of situation. You're bringing someone else into the relationship that ought not to be there. Does that mean that your past kisses and you learned, I don't know, some sort of technique or whatever it might be, that you're then now using is bringing them into your current relationship? No. But if you're thinking about them and you're comparing and all of that, that's considered a cheating experience.
Well, thanks for watching. This is Christian Dating with Adam and Karen. Let us know that you're watching, and we'll be sure to be praying for you as well. Thanks for watching. Do you know how to date as a Christian? Check out these Christian dating love stories. They may have kissing.